All right, that's going to bring us to Crowdfunding Corner, where we talk about the board games that are in crowdfunding and will be for about the next couple of weeks. I think the games that I have listed here end at the latest on September 8th, but they might end as early as September 3rd. We have 8 games to look at, so let's take a peek. First one here is Dungeon Twister. This game is a race to 5 victory points. You get victory points for defeating other players or for escaping this dungeon. I don't know a ton else about it, Devin. If you hop out of this video, we should be able to see some of the details on the page here. I'm trying to remember, but I think, yeah, so you're kind of working together in order to defeat the monsters, and you get a victory point if you defeat them. And then there's lots of traps and other things in these dungeons that you're also trying to escape from. So just race to 5 points. I like when a game has like a simple win condition like that. Like, oh, it's just a race to 5, and how do I get points? Seems like a fairly straightforward and simple game. It does have an expensive pledge, though. I imagine it has a couple different versions. And I did note here, pretty pricey shipping as well. But if you, I think this might be, yeah, it's a 20th anniversary edition. So if you've played this game in the past or have heard of it, I think this is like a more deluxeified version of that game from 20 years ago. So, yeah, check that one out if you like that kind of game. That is Dungeon Twister. It's on Gamefound and ends on September 3rd. Next up is a game that I think has really cool pieces, but I think, I don't know, I think it's too long, in my opinion, for what it's trying to be. I've actually watched like a full game of this and some pretty in-depth reviews. It's called Bloodstones, and this is a reprint of Bloodstones and a new expansion called Dwarves and Djinn. A game by Martin Wallace and David Turksey. I think I pronounced that right. And they're both incredible designers. It's basically like a big war game. And you play as one of these factions. And each faction has very different tiles that play differently. And you'll put tiles in your bag, and then you'll draw tiles from your bag as like the randomness in the game. And then you're moving your characters or your tiles through the land to try and control more of the land and defeat other factions. And yeah, they play very different. Like some of them have dragons, and some of them are, the two here are the Mountain Kingdom and the Sand Dwellers. And then yeah, there's just a bunch in the game. It's very cool looking. I love the way that those domino kind of tiles look. But then watching a game played of it where they had to put like 15 of them in a very close space. They were like stacking them all over the place, and it looked like just kind of asking for trouble with things spilling around. But anyways, if you like Bloodstones, then this expansion would probably be right up your alley. And then if you like kind of a competitive area majority, I don't even know if area majority is the right word, kind of a war game with a little more visual flair, and I think a little shorter than most like really complicated war games are, then this might be for you. It looks a little fiddly with the pieces, even though I think the pieces look really cool. That one ends on September 2nd, also on Gamefound. All right. Console Wars, the card game, is next. This is a pretty simple card game that I don't think I would really like. I think it has some take that elements, but I thought the theme was really cool. You're basically collecting these cool video game properties, and they've purposely like changed the name. So like Last Fantasy instead of Final Fantasy, Resident Devil, The Rest of Us instead of The Last of Us, Mood instead of Doom, The Legend of Esmeralda. I don't know. So you get these like franchises, then you have to build up your fan base of fans, but you can steal fans from other players if you like release a new game in your franchise. So there's a bit of take that in the game, like I steal your fans. And so I don't think this is really one for me. I don't like take that like almost ever. But I thought the theme was unique and fun enough that I wanted to at least give it little time here on this episode. So anyways, that is Console Wars, Console Wars, the card game, which ends on September 4th. Okay, next up is a game called Chicago 68, which is a pretty like heavy Euro game. Well, it doesn't look like way heavy, but medium heavy, I would say. A 3 to 4 player game lasts 3 hours, just as like a time frame there. 2 players, 90 minutes. Solo, 60 to 90 minutes. And the estimates from companies are usually low, so that might even be longer. This is a game about the riots and what are they called? The history surrounding the Democratic national. What's it called? The word spacing me. The convention, the DNC. Scroll up to the very top, Devin. Yeah, Dark Pictures Anthology. Scroll to the top of the page. It's the Democratic National Convention riots of 1968. I was not born for 22 years. I was negative 22 when this happened, so I don't know a lot about this, as history is also not a subject that I'm especially keen minded about. But in this game, you play as either the establishment, which are like the police and the government figures, or as these people that are protesting and rioting. And that's kind of kept track on the board by different locations around where this rioting happened in Chicago. And you can like move your rioters to different locations, and there's some area majority at those locations, and it's all in this history kind of theme. And there are a few different ways that you win, but yeah, that's kind of the main crux, is that play as one of those two sides, either trying to end up with the establishment trying to control the rioters, or as the rioters trying to get your message across. And I don't feel like I explained that game very well, but I do think the integration of the theme does look pretty cool. As I hate to say this, but I usually like a more like fictional theme in my games. I'm not against history at all, but like if this was spaceships, like it'd just be more interesting to me, which is very reductive, I know. And the game is supposed to be pretty solid. Like some of the reviewers on here, I think they have a review from Space Biff, and he does excellent work on his blog. So I don't know, it might be like right up your alley if you like history, if you like games that are like well thought out. It seems like it's mostly kind of a Euro game where you're managing some action cards and pieces on a map, with a little bit of conflict in those areas. So anyways, that is Chicago 68. It ends on September 5th. Okay, next up, from Gap Closer Games, I actually have one of their games. It's called Illiterati, which is a very fun word game where you're cooperatively making words with other people at the board or at the table. Very fun. This one is called Rival Restaurants, and it's an expansion for Rival Restaurants called SPORKS Out. This is also like a game that I don't think will be a David game necessarily, but you are playing as a different restaurant and you're trying to just be more successful than the other players by getting new types of ingredients to complete recipes. And you can trade ingredients with the other players and buy them and upgrade different components at your restaurant. In the video to this game, it also mentioned that everyone takes their turns at the same time and shows like a real-time element with a sand timer. So it seems like it's chaos and madness for a little bit, but this one has been pretty well received as far as games in this genre are concerned. So if you like a little chaos and madness, like I just mentioned, this one might be a hit with you too. That is Rival Restaurants, SPORKS out, ends on the 5th of September. Okay, next is Zombie Horde. This is a co-op game where you are trying to build up a town and explore and fight off zombies in the zombie apocalypse. The game looks a little bit like a indie, in my opinion, but I think it actually looks kind of well thought out. Has a cool board if you get like the pledge, this top pledge at least. They include STL files so you can print like these 3D print these cool 3D buildings. So there's some verticality to how you play, and there's different types of zombies. Each you're playing together. It's a co-op game. Each player takes control of a different segment of like your camp. So one player might be the farmer that's like in control of making sure everyone has food and is well fed, and another player might be, I'm trying to remember all of the, like the medic, like the medical team that needs resources for the hospital and make sure everyone is healthy. And then you've got like the assault people that are going out and fighting. So there's different roles, and you do the colony phase where you're taking care of your colony, and then you do the exploration phase where you go out to try to find new stuff, complete missions, and to push back the zombies. Has a cool gameplay mechanism where if you kind of work together with your team, you can do these, I forgot what they call them, like a cooperative strike, where in one action you can both like fire on an enemy, and it does more damage and takes less action time because you were like lined it up correctly with your team. So co-op game where you're trying to fight zombies, complete missions, and build up your colony. I think these minis are actually pretty cool for the different zombie types.
Yeah, they're well done.
I liked the one with the football pads on. And this, if you scroll down just a little bit more, yeah, that runner I think was funny. They have this pyramid, I think it's called. Yeah. So the zombies, if you get up to the second level on those 3D buildings, they will like start to pile up, and a pyramid might come up, and then they can start climbing on top of the buildings as well. So you're never fully safe from the zombies. That one ends on September 6th. Kind of a pricey game because of, you know, tons of miniatures and stuff. But if you like a co-op game and you like games where you're fighting other little dudes on a map with die rolls, I imagine, you know, maybe not. I didn't see any dice, but did you see any dice? Oh, there's a whole bunch. 15 dice. Then this might be a game for you. That is Zombie Horde. Okay, next up. This game's been pretty popular this year. It's called Tir na Nog, and it's getting a reprint with an expansion. And in this game, it's a pretty straightforward and simple game. You're trying to make the best little tableau in front of you. I think it's called your story. And so you send out your workers. In this game, they're called storytellers, and you put them at the gaps between two of the cards, and then you get to take the cards next to one of your storytellers, and you put them back in your tableau, and you're trying to line up like different colors in order to score a bunch of points. So it's a fairly simple like drafting game. I think the standouts in this game are 100% the artwork. I think it looks very, very pretty. And I guess I like a simple, like shorter set collection kind of game, so that, you know, no shade thrown here. But it doesn't look like it's the deepest thing for sure. So if you like kind of family weight games that have cool artwork, then I think this one might be a hit with you. Has a couple mini expansions here. One of them is like an 18 card escape room, and the other one is a couple of modules that you can play with the game. You can also get a print and play version of this pledge as well if you want to. So this one's intriguing to me. I have too many games at this family weight level, though. I need to start purging some because I prefer games a little more involved. But anyways, that one ends on September 6th. Lots of reviews out for Tir na Nog, so you could check those out too to help you make your decision on if you want to join this reprint campaign or not. Okay, last one for this week is a game called Scarce. And this one is kind of like a deck building game. This is deck building and worker placement there, where you are trying to explain it in the best way possible. You are sending out your ship to the ocean in order to scavenge for resources from the ocean. And you also have to send them down deep, like underneath the surface. That part of this game looks really cool. There's actually two boards. There's like the surface board and the depths board. I don't know if that's what they call them, but that's what they look like. And so the game comes with this I think it was either 14 or 18 piece cardboard stand where you can put the depths board on the bottom of that stand, and then probably like a foot above that, the surface board sits. They also show that you don't have to use that if you want. You can just put the surface board down and then surround it with the seafloor boards. So you can do that either way, and I think it looks really cool with it raised up like a foot. Other than that, you're trying to get better cards because your cards dictate your movement by the numbers on the top of the card, and they dictate your actions by the bottom of your card. And it's pretty strictly deck building in that you'll draw cards from your deck that are bad, that you don't want to happen. So I'm guessing there's probably some ways to purge bad cards from your deck as well. But a cool idea. I didn't know you could make kind of a cool stand like that just out of cardboard. I wonder how sturdy and solid it is, because you definitely wouldn't want to knock it over. But it does look cool with that double stand. So yeah, it looks like a medium weight kind of Euro game, deck building and worker placement with a couple of boards that are the surface and the depths. And that seems like a fairly cool idea to me. So that is Scarce, which it looks like it's about $66 for the core game. Yeah, I think so. Plus whatever it is for shipping. $64 actually is what they estimate. And then they do have a more fancy version with 100 plastic like resources, a card holder, and an STL file for an insert, which is interesting that they don't just like include the insert on the more expensive pledge. But that is Scarce. That one ends on September 8th. Okay, those were our 8 games in Crowdfunding Corner this week. Devin, first dibs on pick of the week. Which one are you going to pick?
Either Tir na Nog or Scarce. One of the last two.
Yeah, those are, I think, my 2 wins as well. I think Chicago 68 is probably like a really excellent game, but I just don't think the theme is like really for me. So yeah, I think Scarce is probably my pick of the week, just because it has a little bit more going on, it seems, than Tir na Nog, even though I think Tir na Nog looks really cool. Yeah, that double board thing though. You throw in like some funky, weird gimmick like, ooh, our boards are one board floats a foot in the air, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, I love that. So I need to watch some gameplay, and yeah, exactly, I want that, and see if the gameplay is solid enough to think about. But I think it looks pretty cool. So yeah, Scarce is my pick of the week.